WebDriver Torso had been uploading to YouTube for over a year before anyone noticed. The channel first appeared in February 2013. By early 2014, it had posted more than 77,000 videos without a single subscriber or comment. Each upload followed the same format: 8 seconds, 2 colored rectangles against a white background, a flat electronic tone, then silence. File names were strings of random characters. No description, no linked accounts, no indication of purpose. The uploads continued around the clock, as many as 400 per day, including holidays. In March 2014, a Reddit post brought it to the internet's attention. The Reddit post appeared on March 6, 2014. A user on r/YouTube had stumbled across the channel and posted a single question: "What is this?" Within hours, hundreds of people had visited WebDriver Torso, watched a handful of its 77,000 uploads, and come back without an answer. The videos were too uniform to be accidental and too numerous to be a hobby project. Someone, or something, had been producing them on a schedule that suggested automation. The question of who had built that system and why was enough to keep an entire online community occupied for weeks. The first thing investigators noticed was the consistency. Every video in the archive followed the same structure. A white background filled the frame. 2 rectangles appeared, one red, one blue, and shifted to new positions. A tone played at a corresponding pitch. Then the clip ended. This sequence repeated across every single upload, with minor variations in the rectangle's positions and the tone's frequency. No human face had ever appeared in any of them. No voice. No text beyond the random file names. The channel's account page was completely blank. The second thing they noticed was the volume. At 400 uploads per day, WebDriver Torso was producing more content than most major media companies. The uploads did not slow on weekends. They did not pause for holidays. Between February 2013 and March 2014, the channel had operated without interruption for more than 400 consecutive days. A human being working at that pace, uploading one video every 3.5 minutes around the clock, would have produced roughly this number. The math made clear that no human was uploading these manually. This was automated. Reddit users began organizing their search. Several threads appeared on r/YouTube and r/deep into YouTube within the first 48 hours. A user named Shakespeare posted a detailed list of observations after downloading and analyzing dozens of the files. He had written a script to extract the audio frequency and the screen coordinates from each clip and compared them systematically. The audio tones, he noted, appeared to correspond to the rectangle's on-screen positions using a consistent mathematical relationship. This was not random noise. The videos contained structured data. Whatever the channel was doing, it was doing it precisely and repeatedly, following rules that had been programmed in advance. This observation drove the first major theory. If the videos encoded structured data in their visual and audio components, then WebDriver Torso might be a covert communication channel. The rectangle's positions and the corresponding tones would serve as carrier signals for hidden messages, a technique known as steganography, or concealing information inside ordinary-looking media. Several users pointed out that intelligence agencies had used similar methods historically. The timing felt significant. The channel had appeared quietly in 2013, the same year a series of major surveillance disclosures had made the public newly aware of covert government programs. Within days, the steganography theory had become the most widely shared explanation on the thread. Others pushed back. The videos were publicly accessible. Any covert communication system designed to avoid detection would not be uploaded to the most heavily indexed video platform on the internet under a consistent account name. One user, posting under the name NullPointer, argued that the channel was almost certainly not a spy tool, but a testing mechanism of some kind. a diagnostic pipeline used to verify that video encoding and playback systems were functioning within expected parameters. The rectangles and tones would then serve as reference signals, similar to the test patterns broadcast on television channels before regular programming began each morning. The argument between the two camps continued for several days. Then, on March 10, 2014, a user examining the archive found something the others had missed. Buried among the tens of thousands of identical 8-second clips was a single video that broke the pattern entirely. It was longer than the rest, and it contained real footage, a brief clip of Paris, including a clear view of the Eiffel Tower, alongside the same rectangle and tone format as every other upload. This discovery redirected the investigation. The Paris footage suggested a human element. Someone had inserted a real-world video into a sequence of otherwise machine-generated content. One theory held that the Eiffel Tower clip was a deliberate marker, a signal left by the channel's operator to indicate something specific about the dataset. Another held that it was a different kind of test, checking whether real-world footage behaved differently through the encoding pipeline than the synthetic rectangle clips. A third group argued it was simply an error, a real video accidentally routed into the wrong upload queue. None of these explanations could be confirmed. The account remained silent. No description had been added to the channel page. No response came from the dozens of comments users left on individual videos. By mid-March, investigators had established several firm facts. The content was structured, the uploads were automated, the channel had run without interruption for over a year, and at least one anomalous video existed, but had no confirmed answer about who operated it, what the purpose was, or where the account had originated. The search had been running for nearly 3 weeks, without a confirmed lead on the channel's operator. By late March, the story had spread beyond Reddit. Technology publications picked it up, and several news outlets ran short items about the channel. This attention brought new investigators, including people with backgrounds in signal processing and video engineering. Their assessments largely confirmed what the original Reddit thread had already established. The content was structured, the automation was consistent, and the mathematical relationship between the visual and audio elements held across every clip tested. No one had a cleaner explanation than the ones already circulating. The steganography theory still circulated. The internal testing theory remained unverified. A third group had begun suggesting the channel was an art project built specifically to generate this kind of investigation. The possibility had a certain logic to it. The internet had a recent history of elaborate fabricated mysteries, channels, and websites constructed purely to attract speculation. If WebDriver Torso was designed confusion, it had been executed with unusual precision. The volume was too high. The structure was too consistent, and the single anomalous Paris video felt too deliberate to be accidental. 6 full weeks after the first Reddit post, the channel remained active, still unnamed and completely unexplained. By the first week of April 2014, the investigation had been running for nearly a month without a confirmed lead. The channel was still uploading. Hundreds of new clips arrived every day, each one identical in format to the last, with no response from whoever managed the account. The Reddit thread on r/deepintoyoutube had accumulated thousands of comments and multiple organized attempts to contact YouTube's support team, all of which had returned automated replies. A dedicated wiki had been started to document the investigation's findings. Theories ranged from intelligence agency operations to corporate testing pipelines to elaborate art projects, but none had been confirmed or eliminated. The community had built an unusually detailed record of the channel's behavior without resolving the central question of who owned it or why it existed. A user named Gexon had written a script to analyze the archive systematically. He extracted the audio frequency and on-screen coordinates from every clip in the collection and logged the results. The process took several days to complete. When the data came back, the mathematical relationship between the rectangle's positions and the corresponding tones held without a single exception across all 77,000 videos. No outliers, no variations, no clips where the pattern broke down. Whatever was generating these files was doing so according to a fixed rule set that had never deviated. No human editor produced output to that standard. A user posting as null pointer had been arguing since early in the thread that this level of consistency pointed toward quality assurance automation. Not just any automated system, he wrote, but one specifically designed to verify that output matched input at measurable precision. He compared the format to reference signals used in broadcasting for decades, known patterns transmitted at known values, then checked at the receiving end to confirm the signal had arrived undegraded. The rectangles and tones serve that function exactly. If the channel belonged to a technology company running infrastructure checks across multiple server regions, the consistency was not suspicious. It was the whole point. The counter-argument came from a user called Velt. He had spent 2 weeks working the steganography angle and now posted a lengthy response arguing that the null pointer theory failed on a basic question: why was the content public? An internal testing pipeline produced data for internal consumption. Quality checks ran on private infrastructure. Uploading the output to a fully indexed, publicly accessible YouTube account served no diagnostic purpose and created obvious exposure. If this were a routine testing process, the account would have been restricted or unlisted from its first upload. The fact that it was searchable and open suggested the visibility had been a deliberate choice, not an accident. Neither position could be confirmed. The account page was blank. YouTube had not responded to any of the direct contact attempts. A user named Farron had filed a formal inquiry with Google's press team requesting information about the account and received no reply after 10 days. A separate attempt to cross-reference the account's creation date against known Google service outage records produced no match. The active thread had produced an unusually thorough technical analysis of the videos and almost nothing about the entity responsible for them. New comments had slowed. The most active contributors had posted their last summaries and stopped checking regularly. By April 3, 2014, the investigation had reached a complete stop. Then, on April 4, 2014, a Google employee named Werner Krutine left a comment on one of the WebDriver torso videos. The comment contained a YouTube link and a single line of Italian text. The translation read, "We are here to take you." Krutine's public Google profile confirmed his employment at the company. The video he had commented on had been uploaded earlier that same day. He had been monitoring the channel while it was actively posting. Reddit users found the comment within the hour and confirmed his profile listed active Google employment. The community response was rapid. The steganography theory lost most of its remaining support within hours. A covert communication system would not be acknowledged, even indirectly, by a named employee of the company running it. The art project theory was abandoned for the same reason. An artwork designed to generate speculation had no need for a Google engineer to leave a cryptic Italian comment on a specific upload at a specific moment. The Krutine comment pointed in one direction. Google knew what WebDriver torso was. The channel was theirs and always had been. The internal testing theory, which some investigators had dismissed as too mundane to sustain 6 weeks of community effort, now fit every detail that had been documented. The consistency of the uploads, the mathematical relationship between the visual and audio elements, the naming conventions that multiple users had noted matched Google's internal engineering format, the automated pace that had not slowed once in over 400 consecutive days. And now, a Google employee leaving a comment on a video the same afternoon it was uploaded. The user who had first proposed the internal testing theory 3 weeks earlier had not even been following the thread actively when the Krutine comment appeared. The pieces had been in place for weeks. The Krutine comment was the one that made them cohere. The Paris video remained the single unexplained element. If the channel was a quality testing pipeline, footage of the Eiffel Tower had no obvious place in a sequence of synthetic reference clips. Several users proposed that an engineer had inserted real-world content deliberately to check how the system handled varied input types. Others argued it was a routing error, a personal file sent through the wrong account by mistake. Krutine had not addressed the Paris footage. His comment had not come with an explanation or a clarification about the channel's purpose. It had come with an Italian phrase and a link to a video, and then silence. The one genuine anomaly in the archive of 77,000 clips had no official account attached to it. The broader question of what exactly WebDriver Torso was doing and how its mechanics worked remained open. Google had acknowledged the channel's existence through one employee leaving one comment. The channel itself had not gone private or been taken down. It was still uploading. Whether a fuller explanation would follow, and whether the community's 4 weeks of analysis had correctly identified the system's purpose, was not yet clear. On April 14, 2014, Google confirmed it officially. A spokesperson for the company told reporters that WebDriver Torso was a testing account used by YouTube engineers to verify video upload and playback quality across different server configurations. The account had been created in February 2013 as part of an internal quality assurance process. The structured videos, 2 rectangles, a corresponding tone, and 8-second runtime, served as reference signals. Engineers would upload them, then examine the output at the receiving end to confirm that the encoding pipeline had not introduced any measurable distortion. The process ran continuously because the infrastructure it monitored ran continuously. 400 uploads per day was not unusual. It was the minimum required to generate useful data across a global server network operating at that scale. The confirmation answered most of the questions the community had spent 6 weeks working through. The naming convention had been a clue sitting in plain sight. The account name matched the engineering tool used to automate the uploads, a framework called WebDriver, combined with the Italian word for tortoise. The mathematical relationship between the rectangles and the audio tones was not steganographic encoding. It was calibration data. The rectangles represented target coordinates in the video frame. The tone confirmed the position numerically. The system used this to verify that a video arrived at its destination with its visual and audio components aligned within acceptable parameters. It was a measurement protocol, not a message. The null pointer theory had been correct from the first week. The user had not followed the thread closely enough to see the Krutine comment or the final confirmation. When another user tagged him in a post linking the official statement, his reply was 3 words: called it weeks. The art project theory was eliminated. The intelligence agency theory was eliminated. The steganography theory, which had attracted the most discussion and the most detailed technical analysis, had turned out to be technically plausible and factually wrong. Several users noted the irony. The community had spent 4 weeks building increasingly sophisticated analyses of structured data inside the videos, and the structure had been exactly what they described. They had simply been wrong about what it was for. The Paris video received its explanation in a follow-up statement issued the same week. A YouTube engineer had inserted the Eiffel Tower footage deliberately to test how the quality assurance system handled real-world video alongside synthetic reference content. The engineer wanted to confirm that footage of a recognizable location did not behave differently through the encoding stages than a clip of 2 moving rectangles. The test had run once. The footage had been routed into the regular upload queue instead of a separate test batch, which was why it appeared in the public archive. It was not a marker, not a deliberate signal, and not the kind of error the community had assumed. It was a different kind of test that had ended up in the wrong place. The community's response was largely measured. Most active contributors acknowledged that the internal testing explanation fit the evidence cleanly. Several noted that the theory had been proposed within the first 4 days and had never been fully discredited. The steganography argument had been more compelling to discuss, not more supported by the data. A post summarizing the investigation received thousands of upvotes. The dedicated wiki was updated with the confirmed explanation and left online as a record of the search. Google took a different approach to the account than most investigators had expected. WebDriver Torso was not made private. It was not deleted. Instead, Google converted it. The channel's description was updated to acknowledge its purpose. The account profile picture was changed to a cartoon tortoise, a reference to the second half of the channel's name. New videos continued to arrive. The format remained identical. White background, 2 rectangles, 1 tone, brisk, 8 seconds. The only difference was that the account now explained what it was. The uploads continued for months after the confirmation, visible and labeled, doing exactly what they had always done. The Crouton comment remained on the video where he had left it. He had never explained why he had chosen that particular upload or that particular afternoon. The Italian phrase, "We are here to take you," had not referred to surveillance, interception, or any of the interpretations attached to it in the hours after it appeared. It was a joke. A Google engineer, aware that his company's internal testing tool had become an internet investigation, had left a playful note on a freshly uploaded clip. The community had spent 2 days treating it as a potential coded transmission. The investigation had run for approximately 5 weeks from the first Reddit post to the official confirmation. In that time, the thread had generated detailed technical analysis of audio frequencies and on-screen coordinates, confirmed the consistency of 77,000 videos through automated scripts, contacted YouTube's press team directly, and correctly identified the account's basic function during its first week, then spent 4 more weeks arguing itself away from that answer. WebDriver Torso had never been a spy tool, a covert communication channel, or an artwork engineered to generate confusion. It was a quality assurance system running quietly on a public platform because no one had thought to restrict the account. The channel that had seemed too strange and too deliberate to have a simple explanation had one that had been available from the beginning. 6 weeks of investigation had confirmed what one user had written in a comment thread 4 days after the story broke, before anyone had examined the file names closely enough to notice they spelled out the name of the tool that made them.